Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian, and I am joined today by Samo and Giga from Polenar Tactical. If you haven't seen them on YouTube, you ought to. You guys are doing a cool firearms-related video out of Slovenia, yes?
That was very general, but it's true, yeah. We're doing firearm-related videos from Slovenia.
Also content.
Give me a better explanation of Polenar, and like, what's the elevator pitch for Polenar Tactical?
I think we are we started off as just some goofballs on YouTube, but now it's not just YouTube. We are a little bit all over the place. We do media content, commercial stuff like that for firearm related companies. We have an online store. We're opening a physical store, and we're just generally involved in firearms business, I would say, and also a different business. So it's not just YouTube anymore, but still, thank God we have Giga, because he's still creative, and we still see that's like the focus point, the red line we have, because that's basically building up our brand.
Well, yeah, essentially, if we just look at our YouTube channel, if you look at our videos over the time, they're kind of all over the place, but it's stuff that we are interested in doing and that we enjoy doing. So we don't just go like, what's trendy right now, let's do that. But kind of we get the ideas for a video where we talk, and then we go like, do you think like a knife could split a bullet? And then we do a video about it, that kind of thing. So, yeah, we're doing content, a lot of content, also on YouTube, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So I put this up to my fantastic patrons who keep Forgotten Weapons running, and at least 3 of them have heard of Slovenia and had questions for you. So let's dig in. The first one actually is kind of just a basic introductory thing. Andreas is not familiar with how your channel got its name. Where did Polenar come from?
That's actually quite easy. The Polenar part, that's also a name of my older YouTube channel, my personal one, and it's kind of a nickname that I got from my surname. So, my surname is Polenar, and the Polenar part is kind of like it's a Slovenian play on words and means like what?
I don't know.
Woods.
Yeah. It's
Polenar.
like, so Polenar, like, let's say some
Pieces of wood. Doesn't really matter, but
so he's the guy that operates the wood. So he's the wood operator.
Yeah, and
it's actually not related.
yeah, but the thing is that the previous channel, it was, I could say, quite big for those times. Like I started when the YouTube started. It was my personal channel, but I did some airsoft stuff on it, some real guns, and when we came together and trying to figure out what to do with YouTube and how to evolve this, we came to the step that we have to make a new YouTube channel, start fresh. Because Slovenia at that time was not in the part of the YouTube Partners Program, or how do you call it? So you were not able to monetize anything in Slovenia, so we were thinking ahead, had to do another channel separately, and then we're speaking about how to name it, right? So we take the name from my really old channel, and then to make it at least somehow relatable to guns, so people will know what they're searching for. It's like Polenar Tactical, so because we did a lot of tactical stuff in the past, and yeah, that's how the name came to be.
That's more in-depth than I was expecting.
And it's stuck, and it's a brand name now, and we have a company now registered with that name. So kind of it's
nice.
It grew from this small stupid thing to
a little bit bigger, but still small thing.
All right, Rory says Polenar Tactical appears to get a variety of guns on your Instagram channel, as well as presumably your YouTube channel. He wants to know, what are Slovenian gun laws like, Do you have something like a special permit that makes it easier for you to have access to a variety of guns for filming?
I know what he thought that I think I read that question. It was like if we have an SOT.
Yeah.
No. We have normal gun licenses. Generally speaking, Slovenia has a very similar gun laws than whole Europe. There are small differences, but the biggest difference from the States is that you guys have the right to own firearms. For us, it's a privilege. So you have to go...
You have to earn it.
Exactly, you have to earn it, do a lot of stuff to prove that you are worthy. And when you get the license, then, you can buy stuff. On our Instagram channel, we show a lot of firearms because YouTube and being, kind of a big deal there opens a lot of doors. So we cooperate with a lot of companies, with a lot of other collectors and gun owners. So not all of the guns that we show there are ours, but...
to be honest, a lot of them are.
True, but still, so we don't have any special firearm license, but contrary to popular belief, people in Europe can own guns, and they can own most of the modern guns that people can own in the States.
Yeah.
The only difference is that they have to get a special license. They have to do the firearm proficiency test, the medical exam, the psychological exam. They have to have a valid reason to own firearms. For example, and for us, it's sport shooting.
You have to have a club, and then when you have everything, basically we can own unlimited number of firearms, and they just need to be semi-automatic. Giga will say yes, but in general it's semi-automatic and up to 50 cal. And basically, you can have 300 firearms if you want to. Yeah. Not in Austria, but in Slovenia, yes. Austria, you can only have 5. That's a bit depressing, but that's another topic.
So this actually rolls straight into our next question, which is from Lord Bacon, who says gun laws in Europe seem to run the gamut, with Slovenia being more permissive than, say, France or Austria. How do EU rules impact national laws? So we hear a lot about EU directives.
Yeah.
What's the interaction between an EU directive and, say, a Slovenian law?
Yeah, the perfect example here is the 30 round mag, right? Where a lot of the directive was that it's banned, right? But
with exceptions.
With exceptions, yeah, and some countries seem to have a little bit more stricter rules than us. So if we are sport shooters, we can have, if we're competing, 30 round magazines, and then you have specific things like, let's say, silencers or suppressors or sound modifiers, whatever you want to call it, so I don't offend anybody. The same thing. So in Switzerland, for many years, they can easily have them with a permit, I think. Before in Slovenia, it was like a big no-no, because then you're a hitman and you do crazy things. I wanted to say shit. But now you can buy it here as, as easy as a magazine, loaf of bread, or the juice. It's completely unregulated, but we're talking about Slovenia. When we're looking at different countries, it's different. So the EU directive is something, but then it doesn't automatically apply in the same way for every state.
To return to the original question, it's kind of defined, because I could set an example as in the US with the federal laws and local laws, right? You have federal level, which has to apply to all of the all of the states. The difference here is that European Union, all of the members of the European Union, and also non-members that signed the treaty agreement, Switzerland, for example, they have to abide by those directives. But the directives they cannot be applied directly to the citizens of the country, but the laws of the country have to be in sync with the directive. For example, the European Firearm Directive stated that not 30 round magazines, but for the rifle, it was maximum 10 round magazines, and for the handgun, maximum 20 round magazines were allowed, but there were some exceptions if you are a sport shooter or have some other, I don't know, reasons. And what Germany did, they just changed their law and just banned all of the magazines over 10 rounds. I don't know, they went like in the totally batshit crazy division. For Slovenia, for example, we just got a small law change to our firearm laws where if you want to buy new guns with more than 10 round magazines, you have to get a special, what is it, like a paper from a shooting club that you are an active competitor. It makes it harder, but our implementation, for example, is still in sync with the European directive, but way less restricted.
It's like the idea that you have to be properly permitted to own a high-capacity magazine, but each individual country gets to determine what the requirements are to get that.
Kinda, yeah. Because at the end, we are countries, we're not states, and...
Yeah. And the European laws, the laws or directive the European Union makes cannot be applied directly to the citizens. So it applies only to the country, and it's in country's job
how to implement them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That explains how you can have EU directives, but still
it's different.
38 different.
Yeah. And then you have like Czech Republic and they conceal carry and etc.
Walker says, what do you think will be the most prevalent rifle and cartridge combination to spring up for civil defense in Eastern Europe? I guess the first part of that question is civil defense a thing in Eastern Europe?
And then also, is Slovenia and Eastern Europe? Slovenia is not Eastern Europe, it's Central Europe. I hate that, like, oh, you Eastern Europeans. Please answer the question, because this is not my spiel.
For civil defense,
yeah.
How can we, in what way do we
is there, so I've seen in some of the Baltic countries with the unpleasantness in Ukraine, the concept of a territorial civil defense come up. I know Poland like created a whole territorial army as sort of a civil defense organization. Is that something you see down here, or people having an interest in?
Most of the countries have some kind of like, I would say like a reserve. Yeah, if you read some articles and if you read like this kind of sensational titles, it sounds kind of like that civilians are taking up arms and they are training themselves and whatever. Legally speaking, they are not. In practice, they are. In practice, like civilian shooters are really good. They are usually way better shooters than the military or the police in Europe. I would say a small part of those shooters also buy protective gear, tactical gear. They do proper kind of trainings, but most of it until now in Europe was just because they like this, you know, like they like the tactical shooting, they like the community, they want to get prepared. Maybe some people have different kind of reasons, but we don't have this kind of militia thinking that you have in the States. Also, legally speaking, in most of the European countries that would not be allowed. You could be kind of considered as a domestic terrorist thing, but in reality, if you're a sport shooter and you're training with gear and training with a ballistic vest, like nobody bats an eye, because like it's your time, your money, and until you do something illegal, that's okay. But to go to the original question, I would say 5.56 is now very prevalent, because all of the old stock of the 7.62 by 39 or the 5.45 is now drying out, and if it didn't dry out yet, it will go to Ukraine as a form of help. So now only the new production ammunition will be available, or at least readily available and by a normal price. So 5.56 is really, really prevalent now. Also, in the past, I would say that AR rifles were harder to get and more scarce in Europe. Now you have a lot of high-quality European companies making ARs in all kind of designs, so they are becoming more popular here. Definitely, I would say that's the that's where the future will go.
I mean, it is the best rifle. Not to be prejudiced or anything.
Yeah, kinda depends on.
Did you hear the provocation?
Yeah, no.
Just a
But
little.
kinda Ian is right. If you compare any rifles and calibers and weapon systems in general, you always have to take into account on how do you compare them? What are the parameters? What's important for you? Ergonomics, speed, armor penetration, whatever. But just like talking, very objectively, I think AR platform is, one of the most successful ones. You could say that for an AK in the past, but now we see with the civilian market, with all of the other company design, improving on this design, the facts are here. I know I'm known as an AK guy, and I really love AKs, and I love to shoot with AKs, but I don't shoot with AKs because they are inherently better. That would be just a lie. I shoot AKs because I love AKs, and I love how they handle, the feeling of it, the looks, everything. But ARs are just easier, and if there are still people that don't believe this, go to a competition. Go to any competition. It can be tree gun, IPSC, whatever, and you will see, that AR just dominates.
Yeah. Seb, this is a total change of pace here. Seb says, let's say the Polenar Tactical team has been contracted to decide what gun will replace the SIG 550 for use with the Swiss Army. Knowing that marksmanship with iron sights is a tradition there, I think Seb is in fact Swiss, and that the country uses a conscript army, what would you outfit them with?
This is a hard one. Can we get another glass of wine?
Yeah, well, I'll hook you up. But before I do that, my answer is completely it's different than Giga's. I would find the company that has a good rifle, and then I would get like 10% of the sales, and then I will sell that. It's irrelevant what they get, basically.
You'd equip them with whatever you can get.
Vino
the
time.
at.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much. Someone would just sell them where he can make the most profit. To me, that's kind of a hard but very interesting question. Swiss, I would say.
Part of the realist in me says the Swiss aren't going to actually go fight anybody, so who cares?
True, but if we are
Samo's plan.
if we are looking in their parameters, the rifle has to be produced in Switzerland, right?
Yeah.
So, like the reasonable option I would go with is BNT.
Okay.
And if they have to change the 55X series, whatever they want to have, I would probably say, like, if they are not doing a big leap in caliber and everything, I would say just like, what's the model of the rifle from BNT, the 223 5.56 rifle?
I was afraid you were going to ask me that. I don't.
No, we don't know. Yeah, I don't know either. It's not a really impressive or I don't know, like mind-blowing rifle. It does not bring a lot new to the table, but it's well made. It's very accurate. Like it brings the Swiss military into more of into compatibility with NATO mags and all of those stuff. So I would definitely say, if we are looking realistically, it'll probably be BNT.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a good explanation. All right. Robert wants to know, with the U.S. Army presumably moving towards 277 Fury, 68 by 51, what is the rest of NATO going to do? Slovenia's in NATO. Are you guys ready to throw away all the rifles you just bought? And,
we just bought them.
Get SIG spears?
Yeah, but do you know that I just learned that yesterday from Grega from RX. We are changing the F2000s for Scars. Apparently, there was also like a small selection made by our special forces, and they somehow, I don't know, like they convert the rifles and they already put them in the system, and now, apart from the special forces, now also the regular military is also changing probably to Scar rifles. Okay.
Scar L, I assume.
Yes, and
5.56?
heavies also. I think heavies are used as a DMR.
Okay.
Comment?
Sig Fury, huh? That's like a big topic, but just like I don't want to go like on a rant or speak too much about it. Just answer the question. I would say that NATO will do nothing, like because that caliber is not NATO yet. It'll take a lot of time to get accepted or like standardized for NATO, and before all of the other countries start to accept it, I think if it's accepted by the US and if it's actually like fielded the rifles, I mean, and if the ammo is produced, that will take time, and then before it comes to NATO, it's just like I doubt it. We will see a change in NATO soon. So if let's say in 20 years, when we see that the US made a great decision with the new awesome cartridge, with the new rifle that it's like super accurate and you can shoot people at 500 meters and they cannot shoot with the AKs back and hit you, like it really is an advantage. And after 20 years of US successfully using it, and you have all of the logistics and you have companies that produce the ammo, then maybe NATO will look at it and then decide to change. But otherwise, I cannot see this.
That's perfect. That's exactly when we'll be ready to switch out this yet another
exactly
thing.
But that's how it goes.
It's NATO. Like the U.S. can't just declare a new NATO cartridge.
True.
We kind of did the first time, but that's a little different.
A lot of people think that U.S. is NATO, but it just...
And 5.56 NATO is not the cartridge that we wanted to use. 5.56 NATO is the Belgian cartridge. We wanted to use 55 grain, and the NATO adoption of Belgian SS-109 required a whole lot of rifle retrofitting in the U.S. to get away from 1 in 12 barrels. Like, I think there's also a misunderstanding that like we dictated the 5.56 and we kind of didn't. So yeah, that struck me as a very interesting point as well. Like, we're just gonna like spontaneously change to a new caliber for our actual frontline fighting forces, and then just give up on having standardization with what is NATO like?
And also,
I don't know how many countries, but like 20 different countries.
Probably more, yeah. And at the end is the production.
Well, Lake City, the ammo factory in the U.S., is building a whole new facility to manufacture 6.8x51.
And who else makes it?
Nobody, pretty much.
That's the point. So
yeah, but it's like when this is normal when you want to, adopt a new caliber, you will have these kind of hurdles. But I think this is a very interesting topic, and can we stay here a bit? Just
sure.
Like I would like to ask you, what do you think about the new rifle and the new caliber?
I think the rifle is great. So the shooting that I got to do with the SIG Spear was only semi-auto, which I think is not a big deal at all. I think if we go back to essentially a 308 family of cartridges, there's not going to be a substantial amount of full auto fire done with it. Like, it's just not effective in full auto. For the infantry rifle. For the machine gun, yeah, absolutely, and it'll be really good in the machine gun. I only got to use the solid brass case training ammo. The military ammo, the full pressure ammo, is the hybrid case. It's a higher velocity, and I have no idea what the actual felt recoil is from that stuff.
You can see in the videos, you can see the difference.
Yeah,
people shooting with that ammo and people shooting with the brass ammo. For example, like Grand Thumb made a recent video with that rifle. He was shooting only the brass ammo. Like, people were commenting, "Oh, there's like no recoil. It's like great." They don't realize, what the higher pressure does.
Yeah. So, and some of the there are some videos out there of guys shooting these things under the supervision of SIG or the Army. Like Task and Purpose has a video on it, and in that,
I saw that.
That dude's getting kicked around, but I know nothing about how experienced of a shooter he is. So
not that much. Like by his accord, like he was in the military, but he says like he's not an expert. And still, I know exactly which footage you mean. It looks like he's shooting a 338, 308, yeah.
So we just, I can't take any conclusions from that yet.
But do you, let's make it short. Do you think that would be a good decision or a bad decision?
I really don't know. I'm withholding judgment on it. I think if it were just rifles, it would be a bad decision. But it's not. It's a combination of rifles, machine guns, and optics.
And optics. That's the important part that people often forget.
And the optic for this thing is really exciting.
Because my first instinct was like, you know, what I did, this was like, it's shit. Why? You know, like, haven't you learned from the past? And then I had to take a step back and look at it and kind of, you know, think about it. Because with every big change in, I don't know, doctrine, tactics, everything, you know, there will always be a counterpart. There will always be resistance.
Yeah.
But if this thing really performs as, you know, it's advertised. So, for example, if you have, let's say, because Russia now is the aggressor, again. So let's say you have enemies there with AK-12s, with iron sights, or let's say that they have 4 times magnification for their sake.
They found some optics.
Yeah, and they are trying to engage you at 400 meters. You can be 500, even 600 meters away, and they cannot hit you. It's really hard. You know, if you know something about ballistics and shooting, you know that it's not that easy.
Yeah.
But then you have a 6 spear. You have less rounds, but with your optic, you essentially don't have to do anything. Your optics does everything for you. You just aim at those guys, press the trigger, and they go down. That could be a big change and like a big advantage. And it could again change the doctrine about like not how many rounds, make the rounds lighter, make the guns lighter. People can carry more of the rounds. They have more firepower. You know that if you change this, but like. One bullet is actually, you know, more effective and can actually kill percentage of, you know, how many bullets you need to kill an enemy will go down. So it'll be actually more effective. So yeah, I'm trying to be open-minded about it.
We also have, we normally like to think about the individual rifleman as the core of the army because that really just fits with American values and themes. But it's important to point out that armies, infantry forces don't have to be organized that way. Look at the German army in World War II. It is entirely built around the machine guns. Mm-hmm. They did pretty darn well for a while using bolt-action 5-round Mausers because the core of the infantry firepower wasn't the Mauser. It was the MG-34s and the MG-42s.
True.
I think what will probably happen is U.S. squad firepower will become more focused on the machine guns, if it isn't already, because without the optic, I think it's a 12-pound light machine gun, belt-fed in 6.8 by 51. Like that sounds like a really cool system. And what I've been told is they are magnificent machine guns to shoot, the XM250s.
Yep.
And especially the optic. The thing you didn't mention on the optic is it has a lot of networking capability. You can use it to designate targets, to share information with other people in your squad and other units literally around the world. There's a lot of really interesting tech in that scope. So if it were just a rifle, I don't know that I'd be a big fan, but as part of a larger combined arms system, I'm withholding judgment until we know a lot more.
Cool. Now let's go back to the questions so we don't deviate too much.
All right.
That was like you guys are such gun nerds.
Do we have a question for someone?
No,
something about money and
No. Yes, because I'm so shallow, bro. Thanks.
Actually, our next question is from Groovy, who says optics and other accessories, price and availability in Eastern Europe.
That's a groovy question.
What manufacturers are popular here?
Right now, to be honest, Holosan is super popular. Oh, fucking idiot. It's fine.
Well, you're done drinking.
Give me my money, please. Money, then everything else
It's
is
okay.
okay.
It's okay.
I think Holosan is really dominating here. It's really, really popular when especially to answer the question, price performance. I would say we also use it a lot. Right now, it's also our newest sponsor.
Oh yeah, Holosan is the best.
No, but
they are our new sponsor.
No, actually, it is the same as with Celer and Below. To be honest, we're using that for so many years. It's just logical to be a part of your team and be a part of your sponsor.
Holosun really took off in the U.S. too.
Yeah.
Like their quality, there are a lot of skeptical people because they're made in China.
Yeah.
But their quality seems to be actually a lot better than people would expect.
Especially for the price.
Yeah.
Especially for the price. What else?
I would say the first part of the question, what optics are available here? We're not like a third world country. You can get any optics in Europe. You can still get EOTechs, aim points, everything. But the second part of the question, I would say that those optics are less and less common. Yes, if you use it for work, police, military still usually buys the highest quality and also usually the highest price. But Vortex, Holosun, and now I saw some cheaper options also are coming to market. What is like Swamp Fox or something?
Swamp Fox.
Yeah.
Swamp Fox.
And some others, and I don't know. I don't have any experience with those.
You have with Vortex and with Holosun.
With Vortex, yes, Vortex. But it's similar with most of these manufacturers. Vortex makes different tier optics. You can get shit. You can get
medium,
medium, and really top of the line optics, And I think it's the same with all of the manufacturers. Usually you get what you pay for.
So I've noticed like Brugger and Tomet is kind of obscure in the U.S. Like people know who they are. They've done some guns in the U.S., but their line of suppressors, bipods, handguards, accessories are really a small. They have a small presence in the U.S. Are they a bigger element over here? Are there other European companies that you see here that you don't see in the U.S.?
I can answer this as an average shooter. I don't know who they are.
BNT.
Okay.
BNT.
I have nothing from them.
Okay. Yeah, you
sorry.
don't, but they are also not that prevalent here. BNT makes really high quality stuff, but also because of the price, they're not that common. You will see them used a lot with the Swiss guys and a lot of guys that, this is their job, so they're police or military in Europe.
They make suppressors.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Will buy, like high-end parts. But otherwise, they are not that prevalent in Europe. For example, like when you go on IPSC competition, there's more chance you will see Daniel Defense AR there than any of the BNT rifles.
Oh,
Or
okay.
for example, PCCs, like you will get Diamondbacks because they're cheap and people convert them and whatever. You will not see a BNT SMG PCC in that kind of competition. Even MP5s are quite rare. Like I went to the PCC competition with the MP5, for example, and I was like, everyone look at me strange there. So they're also kind of not a big. I would say this is a very, very interesting topic because this is how I see 6 Hour, the X 6 Hour. 6 Hour company, the original one, right, in Germany, and those kind of tied to Swiss. They went bankrupt, if I'm not mistaken, and they closed. SIG in the US is now like one of the biggest companies, and they have military contracts, everything. The difference is that 6 Hour made really high quality guns in low volumes for a, I don't know, you could say appropriate price, but it was a high price compared to others. And I would look at BNT in the same way. Like when you buy something BNT, it's over-engineered, it's really high quality, but it's expensive.
Okay.
But in the end, you will have a company that makes something that's maybe less quality made, a bit less reliable, but way cheaper, that company will flourish, and B&T will be, on the side. So, not sure if this is like how the business now works, but I noticed this in a lot of examples. We were talking about optics. Holosun, they don't make the best optics. We cannot say that. But they make really, really good optics. And why are they so popular? Because they make really, really good optics for a reasonable price.
Yeah.
And if you're not a tier 1 operator that, I don't know, dives 50 meters underwater and then shoots in the Arctic Circle and then goes to equator and at 40 degrees Celsius, it's like, very extreme conditions, you can be really good with Holosun. Like, it will not, go down on you, or it will not change the point of impact. So,
Okay.
It works.
yeah,
Very good.
it's
JWL wants to know if the war in Ukraine has affected the availability of firearms, accessories, and gear, and also, have any organizations from Ukraine reached out to you for any tips or training or procurement?
yes.
For the first part of the question, yes, definitely, especially like ballistic protection right now is like it's super hard to get, and other like relevant gear for basically everybody, medical supplies, plate carriers, etc., etc. Guns, not so much. Not because of Ukraine, because of Russia, so it's really hard to get right now. Of course, Russian firearms. I think me and Giga bought the last two Saigas.
AK-102, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good decision. Better than Bitcoin right now. So yes, of course, it affected us. When it comes to the other questions, I would not go into details, but also, of course, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. We can feel that. Scarcer ammo, all of the guns that were imported from Russia, like, Russia is now closed off. So we don't think that anytime soon we will be able to access Russian guns or anything Russian. So
I was talking to a friend in Austria who was importing most of the guns. Not from Russia, like from another country in the EU.
Mm-hmm.
And customs, I think it was Austria or Germany, customs saw made in Russia, because it was a Nagant, Mosin Nagant from like 1904, and rejected it flat out. Like,
But also that's Germany.
So yeah, we are very affected by the war in Ukraine.
But it's not like, just to finish it off quickly, it's not like, I think a lot of people in the States that maybe have a little problem with geography, you are not physically affected. Definitely not. Like, yes, we see Ukrainians on the roads, but we're not like in danger or anything, just to be clear.
because they're not Eastern Europe.
Yes, thank you. One more time. Who was that? Roger or something. One more time. Oh, Giga went for the toilet paper to clean stuff.
Yes. I'm sorry and
No problem.
apologies.
All right. Mick says, what are the reasons for allowing civilian suppressor use in Slovenia? We are working hard here in Malta to achieve the same result. One of our biggest arguments is noise abatement in a very small, highly populated country. Yeah, Malta is very small and very dense. Was this a factor in the Slovenian authorities' decision to legalize suppressors?
Yes. I was in Malta last year. It is more densely populated than Slovenia. But still, it's very similar here. You saw it. It is a lot of nature. It is a lot of, small cities. And you can imagine that, if you have a range anywhere in Slovenia, it will affect some population around. And everybody was complaining, and definitely it helps. So you can see some of the shooting clubs are just on their ranges are forbidding to fire without suppression. So that is actually a good argument, and I'm really we love that it was implemented and that we can actually have them.
And just to be clear, they went from basically completely illegal to completely unregulated, no permit. Like, you don't even have to have a gun permit to buy a suppressor.
Yeah. Because it's logical. You don't need, if
what
you're buying tires for your truck, you don't need to show your driver's license.
How much time do we have?
We have all the time that you would like.
I need to smoke, man.
You should go for a smoke now.
Oh, it's a monologue. Okay. Like HS.
Yes. With the suppressors, like behind it, there's a lot of stuff. I'll try to make it short.
Okay.
We had left-leaning government. They prepared a really long new law about firearms that would be really terrible for us. We would probably have to close our company. A lot of shooting ranges would be closed down. It was just terrible. And then the corona hit, and that government just said, oh yeah, we don't want to deal with this, we'll step down. And more right-leaning government came to power, and they already opposed to that new firearm law. And when they got to power, they took that law, like it was, I don't know, 200 pages of law, and just said like, oh, this is shit, let's throw it away. And they decided to do small changes to our existing firearm law, and they actually worked with hunters, sport shooters, and people from the industry.
Okay.
And essentially people from the industry and shooters and hunters that suggested the changes to the law were expecting a lot of resistance from them. So they put a lot of this kind of claims, like we should allow suppressors, we should do this, we should allow, like, they did a lot of bullet points, what should we allow, went to extreme, because they were expecting that this government will then negotiate with them and say like, okay, we can allow this, but we do not want to allow the other stuff. And essentially what it came down to is that the government just said, oh, this looks sensible, we'll approve this. And we got everything.
Nice.
Which was mind-blowing. Still, it still is. Like, if you asked me 1 week before this law was accepted, I would bet all of my belongings, everything, all of my guns that will not get suppressors. Because that was mind-blowing. And at the end, we found out that the only entity that was opposing that was police. Police and internal service, and they're kind of, you could call them like FUDs. They're like, like old policemen that have this kind of like old style views of the world, and they were like really strictly against suppressors. You cannot just allow suppressors for civilians and guns for civilians, like without any real reason. And the best part about it was that we have now legal, unregulated suppressors for more than a year. There's no rise in crime.
Of course,
nothing. No suppressors were used in robberies. There's no change at all, except that people around the ranges, they have less noise pollution. So how that applies to Malta, I don't know, but. We were lucky. It was a very, very strange succession of events that led to this. But yeah, that noise pollution definitely could be a very good reason.
Well, perhaps Slovenia could be a good case study for
Exactly.
Maltese activists. Like, look, here it went from totally banned to completely
Yes.
unregulated, and there were absolutely no problems.
And we are not the only country that allowed suppressors. Like Germany now, I think, allows it for select hunters. Switzerland now allows suppressors with a certain permit, and they're now more relaxed about it. Like more people can get the permit. So hopefully, it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and because also in Slovenia, for those that were arguing the case, it was quite simple. In 30 years of our independence, not a single crime was committed by illegal firearms. So we are not the problem. And they actually said, oh, cool.
Nice. That's what you'd like to have
because
happen.
we are not the problem makers.
Right.
You know it for yourself. You're a legal firearm owner. So especially in Slovenia, that's, like Žiga said, it's a privilege. So that means that you will abide the abide
By the laws.
abide the law much more than anybody else, because you can lose them. You can lose this privilege. So we definitely take and overcomplicate everything when it comes to firearms, because we want to follow the law that everything is 100% legal.
PT says, what was the development process for Grip Clamp C, TM?
Oh.
Are there further Grip Clamp variants forthcoming? Are we getting Grip Clamp D?
I think the C is already kind of like covers all of the fronts. Like I was watching some kind of adult movies, you would say, and I saw that this kind of movement is very non-ergonomic. So I decided, like, what if I change the hand like this? You know, it's easier. So yeah, it's just ergonomics. You know,
And it works.
modern techniques.
Thank you, PT. I'm really glad you asked.
And I hope you have the patch. PolenarTactical.com/shop.
Okay, moving right along. Herc says, what's the story with that warehouse full of tires on the walls that you use in many of your videos? Is that an established shooting range or just a private spot you set up for yourselves to shoot?
It's a private shooting range.
Yeah, it's a proper shooting range. We were involved with from the very beginning. We're a part of the shooting club, and yes, that's where we do most of our videos because we were actually banned from a lot of ranges before, because in Slovenia firearms is a taboo in general, and when somebody comes to the range and does, you know, a little bit more dynamic things that they are used to, they're just like, and also publish it on UBTubi, they're like, oh no, you know, just like, and we're very fortunate we were involved with our friends that are a little bit more relaxed about it, and that's why we use that range. But I think the whole culture is slowly changing in Slovenia. It's much more relaxed, and we have different shooting ranges we use.
I can relate to that too. Having tried to do some filming at public ranges, it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
Like,
you do like, Papa, no, fully automatic.
for me, the problem is like, see, you guys actually have a camera operator who's holding a camera. I use a tripod all the time.
Jan is wonderful.
Yes, he is. For me, like having to go downrange, set up a camera, and then come back and shoot past the camera, it's just a huge pain to try and do that on a public range with other people. So that indoor range you have, which I have now shot at, we have a couple of videos coming that are going to have a little bit of shooting from that range.
You were still not at our range. That was different range.
Yeah.
Oh,
Doesn't matter.
it looked the same.
Similar.
It looked similar,
It's
yeah.
a room full of tires.
Ours is just a bit more tidy. But essentially, it's a private range. We have different kind of categories of ranges. It's a private range, and we can use it anytime that we want. So that really works for us. One thing that I would mention, if you want to do something like that yourself, do not shoot at empty tires. It can be dangerous, especially with handguns, because empty tires have a band of
Steel
wire inside, and they can actually ricochet a bullet. Like they can change the direction of the bullet and could be dangerous. What we have there is tires filled with loose sand, and loose sand will really get all of the energy out of the bullet. We shot with a lot of calibers there. None of the calibers went through past like the first row of tires filled with sand.
Nice.
Everything was stopped there. It's very effective.
And we have 2 rows and also another backstop of sand. So altogether,
it's overbuilt, but the key is sand.
Yeah.
Don't just shoot at empty tires because you can have bad luck and get shot back.
Safety first, guys.
Yes, definitely. All right, I have to ask you this. This is from BF6677. What is your favorite gun if you could only have one gun?
Oh, man.
Look, someone should answer this because I will go on a rant again and it will take too long.
That's such a...
I don't know about you. Zastava M70. Done. Enough.
Only one?
Only one.
I would probably, all of the Eastern Europeans would go crazy, but I would go probably with an AR just because if I only have one gun, it's so modular that you can do a lot of things and make it different in a lot of ways.
And it's the best gun.
No, not because of that.
It's because of that.
Or maybe I would go with the Think arms because I can have then 27 calibers, and I can have maybe
That's a good choice.
because that's a little bit of a cheat, because then you basically have like 5 rifles.
So approximately 0% of the people watching this have any clue what the Tink Arms rifle is.
But after your video,
But that's okay because I filmed a video on it that will be coming out
Exactly.
soon.
It's an interesting
I would
concept.
probably say MP5.
Oh,
It's
okay.
really enjoyable to shoot. I can use it on a handgun range. I can use it as a PCC. I can use it as kind of a rifle to up to 300 meters. We did like 250 meters shooting in
It's like poof,
Virginia.
and then like
Yeah,
click.
yeah, but you hit it.
Yeah,
you hit it.
yeah.
That's good. That's fun.
I would maybe go. Yeah,
So
that's a good choice. That is an actually good choice.
So next year's Lynx Brutality, you're going to use just an MP5 for both guns.
That'll be interesting. That'll be very interesting.
Yes, but we
We'll think
need
about
to do something so it's
I need
fair.
to do we need to do a Kydex holster for the MP5.
Yes,
And he
absolutely.
needs to like he needs to put the buttstock forward and shoot like this when it's a pistol.
That'll
Obviously.
work. That'll
Yeah,
actually
it will
work
work.
really well.
So it's fair.
I used the Scorpion VZ61 as a handgun
Yeah.
on one of the two-gun competitions. It did really well.
All right. That son of a bitch Van Owen, which is a reference some people will get, wants to know how the transition to Western style and Western caliber firearms have gone for countries transitioning from the Warsaw bloc over to NATO. So, of course, Slovenia, as part of the former Yugoslavia, was using AKs, using 7.62 by 39. What have the challenges been in this transition, and what are the pros and cons of new NATO caliber kit?
So before we say this, technically, well, no,
Not Eastern Europe.
Not
Yes.
Warsaw Pact.
it's
yeah.
not Warsaw Pact, and we didn't like Soviet Union. It's like read your history, people. But Žiga, please, now you answer.
Slovenia. Let's talk just about Slovenia, for example. When we had in '91, when we had the Independence War, our territorial defense already bought the SAR 80, which you also made a video on
Video coming soon.
in
Yes.
5.6.
Okay.
Because for us, we still had some reserves in 7.62 ammo from the Yugoslav army. But when that happened, when they declared independence, Yugoslav army pretty much cut off everything. They had their own military bases, and for us, it was like we just were left with almost nothing. So we were not able to source 7.62 ammo. We did, of course, we did for a lot of rifles, but it was not kind of like so abundant that it would make sense to only buy AKs. So even then, like any of the rifles like that we could get were okay. For example, we also bought Ultimaxes, Ultimax 100s.
Oh, that's an awesome.
Those
That's
are I really love those.
Yeah, those
guns.
are great
Those
guns.
are awesome. And so our transition was kind of fast, but then when we established the Slovenian military, we just went back to the AKs because we had some production machines for the barrels and parts of these AKs still in Slovenia. Fun fact, you know the hammer forging machine that you saw at Arex? If I'm not mistaken, that's the one that Slovenia got in '91, just after independence, because we wanted to have the capability of producing our own barrels, because you know, Yugoslav AKs, they don't have Zastav AKs, they don't have chrome-lined barrels,
Right.
and the barrel is the first part that can wear out, decrease the accuracy, and you have to change it out. So I think Slovenia bought those machines, and then later Arex bought it from Slovenia.
Interesting.
So that's yeah.
Huh.
I
So-
really hope I'm correct on this.
No,
If
you-
I'm not, maybe someone will.
You
will
are,
correct me.
or they can make a bigger channel on YouTube and prove us wrong.
So let's back up just a moment. Explain to me how Yugoslavia was able to buy rifles in 5.56 at all. How did
Not
Stalin?
Yugoslavia, Slovenia.
Okay, well, how did Stalin let that happen as part of the Warsaw Pact?
Because
Thank you. You're making good thing. You're making a joke.
I'm throwing a softball here to you because there are a lot of people who are going to just be like,
should
well,
we really explain this?
yes, because I think there are a lot of people who think,
Someone
well,
explain
all
this.
of
I will just go.
Yugoslavia, Stalin, Russia.
Yeah,
all
so-
of those countries it was all Warsaw Pact.
Yeah,
It's this
no,
giant, like everything west of Germany is Warsaw Pact or east of Germany.
We're not even we're not even west or east of Germany. We're south of Germany. But okay.
And now, in a couple of sentences, when it comes to history, you have to know that like Stalin was a friend, let's say until 1953, and then in one moment he was not a friend anymore. And we had communism, of course we did officially and well, also unofficially, but it was a really soft version of communism. Even now, like I told you when we were eating lunch, you still have a lot of people saying like, especially old people, it was awesome, you know. Everybody had a job, a flat, family. It was relaxed. It was really opposed it. Well, looking back now, of course, looking then forward is a different story. So we were a different kind of communism. First off, second off, we need to know that our leader Tito was the leader of third nations, right? And he was a prominent figure there, and he had a lot of things, a lot of saying into stuff. So America and all of the Western, like people like to say, countries liked him, and we were kinda the middle of this Europe. East and West kind of situation. So it's really you need to dig into history. It's really hard to explain this stuff because
now you understand when I'm answering questions about guns.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
No, but it's like yes, we were communism, but we were definitely not a part of Soviet Union. We didn't have the perfect relationship. If you would look at like even the friendship between the U.S. and Yugoslavia, it was a big one. They even outsourced a couple of things. Because we were a part of that third nation league. What was the
third nation?
Perhaps like Finland.
Independent.
You maintained relations with both the Soviet Union and the West.
But
so it's definitely not like the Warsaw Pact, and we weren't a part of that.
It's like you see Russia and the Warsaw Pact, and you see like the Balkan Peninsula where Yugoslavia was, and they were separate, and like they really did not like, especially Stalin. That's why our relations with Russia, went sour. And also, a fun fact: the development of the Yugoslavian AK, the Zastava M70. That's why it went so different from the Russians, because I'm not sure. I'm not that knowledgeable about the matter. I'm not sure if we received the technical pack for the AK rifles, but pretty much the Zastava AK is made different. Yes, it is an AK, but a lot of the parts are not compatible with the other AK rifles. They made their own thing,
and bolt catch.
Oh yeah. That
Video coming soon.
So we were not a part of Russia. We're not a part of Warsaw Pact.
Yeah,
we're not,
basically.
we're not Eastern Europe.
No,
kind
we
of
are
different
not.
thing.
It's not bad to be Eastern Europe. It's just we're not, and we were a little island in between, basically looking on the left and on the right. But
that'll be the title of this video.
Yes,
Polenar Tactical explains why they are not Eastern Europe.
I'm sorry for that, but it's like it's getting here, and
But let's move
understand.
Let's move on.
Okay, next up, Matthew. What are the tactical advantages of tracksuits for AK operation?
Oh, many.
The stripes make you go faster, right?
Yes.
on. Exactly, that's the point. As you saw at the League's Brutality that we did, who's the winner? Who took the second place? You in a normal suit. The 3 stripes make a difference. Trust me. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I do want to point out to people that you actually made Adidas tracksuit combat shirts,
Yes.
sort of, with hoods.
It's, to be completely honest, we didn't make anything. It's like
Giga,
Chinese source.
No,
and
I sue him.
yeah, someone is doing them in the next room. Like
No, but we have them, yes, and we also have the multicam 3-stripe jacket. It's
And you
very
guys
sexy.
sell those at
PolenarTactical.com/shop.
Ian is really nice to us, and he really, tries to include these things.
We can
in the
make
video.
it's fun that you're willing to lean into that
Yes,
stereotype.
It's like for the 17 people that are still here, because
Watching.
we're super boring. Not Ian. We are. We can make like a 10%
I'm very
off.
amused.
I know.
The wine helps.
We can make like a 10% off forgotten weapon thingy.
Oh, sure.
That would be awesome.
All right, let's continue with the Q&A.
Description down below.
Okay. Ryan says, man, these questions are just perfectly stacked together.
They're really good.
If you had to live in another European country, a different one, which would it be and why?
Giga, you go first.
Okay, I have this question prepared. I would say Croatia, because it's kind of cheating, because Croatia is very... we don't like Croatia. Croatia is very close to Slovenia, and it's very similar to Slovenia, and they have really good, really nice, how do you pronounce the
Coastline?
Coastline, yeah. I wanted to use the other word, but the YouTube algorithm will
Beaches.
yeah, exactly. That, or I would say Finland. I don't know why, but I really like Finland.
Because it's similar to Slovenia.
Not because of like the land, it's because of the people. Finland is really awesome.
It's because you hung out with the Varstalika crew.
Probably.
Yeah,
That's why.
Yeah,
That's why. They're fantastic
if I
people.
can make my pick, it's similar to Giga's actually. We don't actually hate Croatians, or we joke. It's like the Slovaks with Czech
it's like
Republic.
in Sweden and Finland,
yeah.
and
But when shit goes,
and Finland and Estonia.
yeah, and Finland and Norway probably. No, I would definitely live somewhere in the Balkans, because the pace is a little bit slower, but it's the same mentality, and we're still in a way not brothers, but we share a lot of things. Also, the language is similar, so
Slavic nations are somehow connected.
I would feel at home.
Okay.
Thanks.
Guido says, what is your guess on future firearm-related legal developments in Europe? Germany has gotten worse, which we've already talked about. UK after Brexit, who knows? Who knows what'll end up happening? Ukraine's an interesting place. Like, what are they going to do to their gun laws after the war is over?
Oh,
yeah.
That's
like, what are the permanent changes going to be? But do you have any theories on what will happen in a broader European context in the future?
I have a very realistic theory, which is not the best.
And I will start with the I hope, and then you go to the realistic one.
Okay,
I hope that people, governments, whatever, now will see that private ownership of firearms, is not a bad thing, especially if something bad happens. That we are not criminals, we're not terrorists, but we're people that train with our own money for our enjoyment and can be kinda used in a case of war. And I hope we're not going to be a taboo anymore. But Giga will not now continue with the realistic version of my story.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think Germany will stay the same. UK will stay the same. Ukraine has kind of relaxed their gun laws just before the war, which made sense. And now they have an influx of a lot of like foreign weapons, and they're...
That's one way to put it, yeah.
If that's like true or not, but they are essentially giving out arms to anyone that wants them. So after the war, I think realistically looking at it, they will have very strict gun laws. Because, the government will be afraid of all of the armed people, and they will try to get the arms back. How they will do this, I don't know, but I think they will not have a relaxed gun laws anymore.
I want to interject. I think it'll be really important that Ukraine is properly rebuilt, that they have the international cooperation, like the equivalent of a Marshall Plan, to rebuild Ukraine so that there isn't a lot of factionalism and civil strife.
Yeah, but just look at the Balkans. We in Slovenia were very lucky because we were the first ones to secede from Yugoslavia, first ones to announce independence. Next was Croatia, and their war with Serbia or their war with Yugoslavia was very bloody, very long, and you can look at their gun laws now. You will see that Croatia and Serbia, they have very restricted gun laws.
Stricter than we have.
Yeah, very stricter than we have, despite like having a very big illegal firearm ownership. Like everyone there after the war, like they hid the guns in their homes, they hid ammunition, they hid hand grenades. A lot of them hid you know, the Zolia anti-tank, you know, single-use anti-tank rockets, everything. Like they have a lot of arms still hidden because they remember the war. It was really fucked up, you know, like people, neighbors shooting each other. It was not pleasant, and I think the same thing kind of will happen in Ukraine, and they will have to make the laws stricter, trying to disarm the populace. So realistically looking at it, I don't see that we'll have more relaxed gun laws in Europe anytime soon.
I hate to say it, but that sounds accurate.
Yeah.
But did you like my fairy tale?
Yes, I did.
Your fairy tale was very enjoyable to hear.
Okay, let's change to something a bit more upbeat.
Yay!
Chairman wants to know, what is the most Slavic drink you're going to make Ian drink?
Bam!
That's what I was waiting for.
So we are
He
going
prepared this one.
Yes, and we have awesome glasses. By
I
the way.
have one of those. I have a rocks glass with a 30 cal bullet in it. They're really cool.
So this is a classic. It's called Pelinkovac. Sorry, I switched to Serbian. Pelinkovac is how to say Grenki.
It's very bitter.
Yeah.
I don't like bitter.
It's basically like Jägermeister without the sweets.
Yeah, Jägermeister just like worse. But it's very
Yes. It's fine.
I'll stick with the one in the glass instead of what's on the floor.
Can you get less for me, please? I don't
Yes,
like bitter.
I know, me
Yeah,
too.
thanks.
Okay, so
It's not the ideal one, but
So this will be the most Slovenian thing you drink. You have to drink it now because
Yes.
of the question.
yes.
okay, all right.
Na zdravje.
Na zdravje.
That.
That's the good health.
Cheers.
Na zdravje.
If you don't drink, it's...
Prva podrva.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah,
Very bitter, but not that bad.
that's
It's
not
fine.
even very bitter. It's a bitter, definitely.
Yeah. I personally don't like bitter things. Yeah.
I've developed a taste for things like Campari.
Oh,
I
yeah,
like-
that's similar.
Yeah, a little more herbal than Campari. That's not bad.
It's not bad. Sorry for the professional
No.
cleaning.
Yet more wiping up of spilled
Let's
alcohol.
continue with the questions.
Yes.
That's the other theme of today's video.
Done.
Timo, continuing with alcohol, Timo wants to know, what is the best Slovenian fruit brandy? Apricot, pear, plum?
Pear. I would say pear. The
Okay.
Williams pear.
Oh,
We call it Viljamovka,
yes.
but it's I don't know who, but someone coined the term Williams pear.
Yeah, Pear Williams
And
is...
it's a really good pear, and with the high-end bottles, you get you actually, I don't know if they put the bottles on the tree or
Yes,
something,
they do.
and the pear grows inside, and then you fill it with the
Yeah.
pear
You-
schnapps,
You
and
put the
it's really
bottle
good.
on, and then it grows, they put it on.
Whatever. So yeah,
No,
pear.
it's not
I would
about
say
that,
pear.
but it's very important. I will not go. I would go with. No, but we don't have a lot of Slovenian ones. Like
That's quite Slovenian.
it's we have a lot of like.
Oh, if you have the chance, Arex has a producer for those,
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
and they're branding them on Arex bottles. Those are really good.
We tried one at Link's Brutality. That was indeed really
Yeah.
good
Did
stuff.
you drink it also yesterday in our offices? Yeah.
No, he did not.
No, but
He
you
was
did.
actually working, filming.
Yes, but when you work, when you're. Next question.
Someone else at Link's Brutality also brought some of the like totally unmarked bottles
That
of
was
homemade. Was it you?
Yes.
You brought them? Okay.
Yes.
Of Quince
Yes,
brandy.
Queen's brand.
That was
Yeah,
really good too.
But that's homemade Serbian one, and it's I won't say expensive, but it is expensive for not being taxed and stuff, and like you said, no branded, no without brands. But yeah, it's that's my favorite one. I would say I want to say that. Yeah, it's called Dunia in Serbian.
All right,
Let's move on.
I've got one question left, and it's back to guns. Inceptor asks, in your area, is there any noticeable preferential difference among the population towards the AK versus the AR? We've kind of covered this a bit.
Yeah, I would say I know where the question is going and why they ask this. I would say that if we compare US with like Europe, some of the countries have some kind of preference to AKs and VZs 58 for Czechs and Slovaks, just because of this kind of the best thing I could call it was
like nostalgia.
History.
Exactly. Yeah, like and like if your military uses this kind of arms and you're in the military and you go out of the military, you still have this kind of nostalgic feeling. This was the proper rifle and whatever. So even in Slovenia, a lot of people like AKs, and
but it's a difference. If I can jump
sure.
in, I think it's a difference when we're talking about competitions and stuff like that, or just like old people talking about guns, or just like, oh, grab one rifle and that's it. What will you use if it's a war here? There's so many different answers, basically. I think right now, like Giga already said, for competition, it's the AR is the reasonable, normal choice. The AK was the normal choice if we're talking about if war happens right here, you go for an AK just because of all of the surplus and everything. But because, like we discussed before, Ukraine, our surplus is probably going there. I really don't know. So it's less and less surplus in general of the 7.62 here. So, but 2 years ago, if somebody says to me like war hits, what are you grabbing? I would probably grab an AK just because the ammo is like everywhere. So it is a simple question, but it requires a complex answer, I would say.
Yeah, that was very good.
Thank you.
If we compare us to US, I would say that in US people that choose AKs, it's kind of a subculture. So AKs are cool. You like AKs, whatever, like you cannot choose an AK in the US because of the ammo, because that makes no sense. Here, a lot of people, just go by, I don't know, finances and say, if I choose an AK and I shoot this round, I can get surplus, I can get it from this store and this store and this store, and it will be cheaper on the long run to run an AK. Or you have people that are kind of nostalgic, like I said. I like the AK because I had it in the military, or I like the AK because kind of it's like a manly rifle, a real rifle, whatever.
It's rugged.
Yeah, but on the other side, you have a lot of people running ARs now, just because of the competition and where it counts. Yeah, modularity. Like, if you go side by side on the timer, doing whatever you want,
everything's faster with an AR.
Yes.
But if you're Giga, he went to a lot of competitions when he was younger, running an AK, and everybody's ha ha ha, an AK, and then he beat them all, and he was like, hey,
that was like the triumph of my skill over
over
the technology. Yeah, like I ran an AK because I really like AKs, how they run, how they shoot, and I was, winning over the guys with the AR just because I was a better shooter and, I trained more with an AK than they did with an AR. But realistically speaking, I think we talked about this at the Lynx Brutality, just shooting at a target 150 meters.
Yeah.
For internet people, like if you look at the numbers and if you try to compare AK with the AR, you will not see much difference. Mm-hmm. As a shooter, I definitely notice a difference shooting in 150 meters. If I shoot at 5.6, right, the bullet goes faster there, and I can hear the sound of hitting the target faster
You get a
than
confirmation
with a
quicker, yeah.
7.62 by 39.
It's true. Yeah.
It is. I don't know if it's adrenaline, you know, like heightened senses, and I can register it faster, but it is a difference. So a lot of shooters here that are they don't care about like guns and everything. They just want to go competition. What I need to win, they will move immediately to the AR platform or
It's also-
some kind of.
It's easier to train from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah, it is.
And
And
then
if
it's much
you want to mount optics on AR,
No money, no
Yeah.
money. And because we're lefties, Ian, right?
Yeah.
It is, well, an AK is not a bad platform for lefties. Let's
except the safety.
and
Yeah. The safety's bad
yeah.
for everybody.
It's like you have to be like this and then. Yes, but yeah, but especially lefties. But we were talking about money and stuff. Just that you understand maybe a little bit more about the money. So before the war, when everything was normal, you can buy.
the war in Ukraine,
Yes,
just to be clear.
yeah, not here.
Oh yeah, the war in Slovenia. It's just like it's terrible right now.
It's outside. It's fine. So that was funny, but tragic at the same time. Let's say a Zastava AK is like 700 euros. To make it simple, €1 is $1. Okay, it's
It's getting pretty close right now.
depressing. I know.
it is.
It's not bad for us. It's fine because we sell to America.
Yeah.
It's fine. No, but what I wanted to say. So you pay 600 euros for a rifle, new rifle, an AK, and then you buy surplus ammo around 23 cents, and you're good to go. And then on the other hand, you have an AR. For a shitty AR in Slovenia, it's almost impossible to get them under 1,100-1,200. Impossible. Like 1,000 is you have to be super lucky, but 1,000 is the mark. And then the ammo is 40 to 45 cents. So we are looking at twice the price for the AK. For the rifle, and twice the price for the ammo. So it's logical if you want to have a rifle at home. Just to have a rifle and maybe train a little bit, you go with an AK.
Okay.
But when people ask me, like, hey, what should I get? I always say, it depends. Why? Because if this is the reason that I explained, it's like, fine, get an AK. But when you want to get the modularity of an AR on an AK, the AK starts to get very, very expensive. Because then you're throwing into, like, on a 700 euro/dollar rifle, you're throwing like a 1K additions on to have the same things basically you have with an AR. So it's maybe much more logical to just go with an AR.
That's true. If you just look at the price point, in the past it was different because the price of 7.62 times 3.9 was, when I still remember it, when we bought like 10,000 rounds, it was 15 cents. It was European cents, but it's very close to US dollar. So it was very, very cheap. Now the prices are, very even. So in the past, it really paid off. Like, buy an AK, buy a shitload of ammo, and okay, you will not be that kind of competitive with an AR, but you can train more. You can just
and you'll have fun.
Yeah, and
with
you'll
a lot
have fun. But
know.
now, when the prices are more balanced, more people are going for the AR.
And that's a big. At the end of the day, money is a big reason to choose something.
It is. However you look
to
at
be
it,
honest,
money is a big, not reason, but also a big, I would say, limiter. Because a lot of people, when they buy into guns, they see that, oh, this is expensive, this is expensive. However you look at it, in the past, ARs were very expensive in Europe. Now you can, in the past, you could get shit ARs for a reasonable money in Europe. Now you can get, for the same money, you can get European-made ARs, which are high quality. So it balances out.
Everything balanced, basically.
Yeah.
So now we're not the same as in the States because, yes, we can get like AK-104 for 600 euros. We can get original AKS-74Us for 550 euros. That, in
No. Oh,
you don't drive today, so it's fine.
Oh yeah, that's true. You don't drive today.
He goes to fill his own glass and ends up pouring all the wine in my glass.
Yes,
Thank
because
you,
he needs to
Chica.
drive.
I am a very good host here. So
In my house, yes.
I think we should end this thing.
I think we've wandered off the rails a bit here at this point.
But it was a very good Q&A.
This was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Thank you to all the patrons who supplied questions. You guys make Forgotten Weapons possible. I'm going to put you on the spot, Samo.
Okay.
Do you want to put a discount code on the Polenar shop?
We will do. We will make a Forgotten Weapon discount code that will be 10% for you guys.
That means that I have to make a discount code. What, Forgotten Weapons?
Just Forgotten Weapons.
We'll put the discount code in the description text below if you want to pick up any of their cool stuff from their shop, specifically, especially the combat shirt
Don't
tracksuits.
thank Ian, thank Pelinkovec.
Yep,
Yes.
that's probably accurate. All right, thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you for having us.
That's it. We're out. Oh, it didn't record. We have to do it again.